The Electoral Commission is racing against time to secure sensitive assignments, including a lucrative tender for printing ballot papers. Going by the Electoral Commission's own revised roadmap for the upcoming general election, which was released on June 16th, timeframes for several electoral activities have slipped and the actual polling dates are yet to be fixed. This, according to insiders, as the Justice Simon Byabakama-led electoral body attempts to plug the holes following the sack of 4 senior staff in July, while several other staff are being monitored as part of the ongoing probe into claims of corruption. Yet again this week, another storm involving the Commission erupted over the 200 billion shilling tender for printing ballot papers, which was awarded to foreign-based companies, and local company printers were locked out. The foreign companies awarded the tender include UK's Toll Security Printers, Adair Security Limited, also from the UK, South Africa's Uniprint, and 2 United Arab Emirates-based firms, United Printing and Publishing, and Al Ghurair Printing and Publishing Company. Following protests by the local printers under their umbrella Uganda Printers and Publishers, the government procurement umpire, PPDA, has since halted the tender process pending an inquiry.
My plan is to have at least a draft report by the investigators by Friday. Monday is 5th, Friday is 9th. So just within 1 week, because we know what it takes to have this time limitation of ballot papers. So 1 week, but if they are, it may be more depending on what you get in the field.
Well, the PPDA inquiry into the matter is expected to commence tomorrow. Sources familiar with the matter revealed to NTV that President Museveni on Friday met the electoral body team. The Electoral Commission says it edged out the local printers for lack of capacity. Sources told NTV that the EC team informed the president that this was prompted by due diligence in regard to the procurement evaluation, and the local printers were found not to meet the basic standards. The president promised to bring the local printers on board. The local printers who are edged out include Graphic Systems, Picture Industries Limited, Multiplex Limited, Wave Media Limited, and Inline Print Services Limited. These, according to their petition to PPDA on September 30th, argued that whereas the Electoral Commission indicated to them that it needed a quantity of about 187 million ballots, they could print in excess of 250 million ballots. The local printers claimed that some of the prices in the best evaluated bid notices issued last month are inflated compared to prices disclosed earlier during the bidding process. The local printers were also knocked out on the technicality of not having handled at least 3 elected-related printing contracts.
A meeting with them, discussing how can we work together in this activity. So we had a good engagement. We resolved that. Let us make even some inspection of the printers, which we know they have developed to the level of having the capacity to produce ballot papers. Companies were visited. Companies were given a report that really they can manage to print ballot papers, and we assured them that if the government can provide security to us, all the printing of the ballot papers can be secured.
The Electoral Commission has defended the tendering process.
The Commission was clear on the requirements, and we lined them out from the start in the bid documents. So that is a requirement because those are the volumes we print and they are within timelines that are required. So like I mentioned, we will, because we are prepared, and we'll issue a statement to that effect, explaining everything around that to the public and to the the stakeholders in the electoral process.
The PPDA Executive Director, Benson Turamye, told NTV on Thursday that the EC, as the procuring entity, has wide-ranging discretion, including hiring foreign companies for such a tender.
Be either misinterpretation on the other side, on both parties, Electoral Commission and the local bidders. The requirement, have you understood the requirement properly? If they say similar services of nature and complexity, how have you attained it? Or it could be also on the other side of Electoral Commission. If I have printed the certificates, say exam UNEB certificates, is it similar to nature and complexity? Does similar and nature and complexity mean actually ballot papers? In my opinion, I think it doesn't mean ballot papers. Because if you have printed, it is printing services of high value, and you have attained those services. You have actually delivered those printing services. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have printed ballot paper.
When we looked at the capacity, what they want, the 18 million for 18 million ballots per every lot. We said that for the start, because this thing is timely, it is done within 45 days. We said for the start, we know we can print them a lot, but why don't you give us 40% of what you want to print to be printed locally, and the balance you can print it out, so that we build the capacity and trust together.
He further revealed that while the tendering process is at the discretion of the procurement entity, by law, they are required to keep all bidders informed about any changes in the process.
It is a breach of the law, of the PPDA law. It is provided that when you are evaluating and you find that one of the bidders or a number of bidders committed an error in their pricing, in their calculation of the total price, then that should be corrected, and the bidder who made that error be informed to accept. Actually, it has even time element. He has to accept within 5 days of communication. But that communication must also be given to the other bidders who participated. So if it is coming at the tail end, at the display, then that is not acceptable.
Of all the companies that placed their bids, perhaps only Pickfair Industries has an upper hand in the process. The company, it is said, attached LPOs for a similar nature of work. Pickfair was amongst the two local companies which printed ballot papers for the 2016 general elections, having been disqualified in the tender for the 2011 general elections. Of the 4 foreign companies awarded the tender for the 2021 ballot papers, UK's Toll Security Print Limited and UAE's Al Ghurair Printing Limited took part in printing of the ballot papers in the 2016 election. With time running out and the EC already attempting to match its roadmap activities, it is yet to be seen whether PPDA can overturn the procurement process, which local companies claim is flawed. The PPDA boss already admitted that the best they can do is to make recommendations to the relevant authorities.
So, the PPDA Act, unfortunately, does not give me powers to take action on errant officers in these entities. But I will recommend to competent authorities. I can recommend to IGG for prosecution, for financial loss of government. I can recommend to the appointing authority to sack the person in charge, and my prayer that the competent authority will implement the recommendation that I will have given.
Separately, people familiar with the ballot tender deal further told NTV that the local printers have already bungled up their options, which mainly include aggrieved companies like Pickfair, which had some relative experience seeking for administrative review rather than making an omnibus complaint to PPDA.
And then we see what they can do. We raise it through PPDA because that is the one which is regulating both of us, the entity and us, the members of the association.
Any company seeking for administrative review has to first pay a fee equivalent to half the percentage of the total contract price, which is forfeited once the appealing company loses the case.
Building confidence on each of every party is very hard. It needs actions to be there. We need to start from somewhere. So for us, what we are asking, that's why we've never said that all the lots we need them to print them locally. We need the government, we need to give us confidence that local printers can manage whatever print which can be out. I know it can be done. When you look at the WBOS during statistics, WBOS prints everything locally and we are able to manage it.
Also, usually, in such large procurements, local companies without the required expertise and experience are allowed to enter into joint venture partnerships with foreign companies to stand a chance, which is not yet clear whether it happened in this case. Regardless of PPDA's outcome, which is expected next week or so, such a huge tender of 200 billion shillings is a huge test for government on its own Buy Uganda Build Uganda policy.
Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy, here we are.
President Museveni has declined to assent to the National Local Content Bill, which was passed by Parliament earlier on in March with the aim of enhancing local participation. The president argued that some sections in the law embolden protectionism that risks putting Uganda at loggerheads with the East African community and the international community.